Dzień za dniem, noc za nocą, nasze życie upływa pod bezkresnym niebem. Marzymy o rzeczach wielkich, ale życzymy sobie rzeczy prostych. Myślami wybiegamy do przodu, ale jesteśmy świadomi, że życie toczy się tu i teraz. Spoglądamy w niebo z dobrego miejsca na ziemi.
Dzień dobry, witamy Was bardzo serdecznie. Czas na lekcję języka angielskiego. Wszyscy obudzeni, mam nadzieję, że już tak, i po śniadaniu, a więc witamy bardzo serdecznie u nas w szkole, w studiu pana Macieja Dokse. To będzie lekcja dla klasy drugiej, oczywiście języka angielskiego. Proszę bardzo.
So good morning, students of the second year of the high school. Good morning, everybody else who have decided to join us for the lesson of English. Today we are going to discuss a subject that is very up to date. I mean the coronavirus pandemic and the things which are connected with it. As you know, the pandemic, the virus, is spreading very fast, and the governments all over the world have introduced a lot of new regulations, a lot of new laws, a lot of new rules to help to slow down the spread of the disease, to limit its spread, so that our healthcare system, our hospitals, our doctors, physicians, they can deal with the number of patients that they receive every day. So today we are going to talk about advice, suggestions and prohibitions that have been given in connection with the pandemic, coronavirus pandemic. So advice, as you can see, porady, suggestions, sugestie, prohibitions, zakazy. So, first of all, I'm going to tell you how we can actually express those things. So how we can express advice, suggestions, and prohibitions. So first of all, giving advice. If we want to give advice to someone, how can we do it? What can we say? Well, the simplest way, we can say you should, for example, you should go somewhere, you should do this, you should do that. Or if we don't think it's a good idea, we can say you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't go there, and so on and so on. Another way of saying this is using the expression you had better or you'd better, which means lepiej, lepiej coś zrób. You'd better go, you'd better stay, you'd better take, you'd better not go. You can also say, if I were you, I would or I wouldn't do something. Czyli na twoim miejscu zrobiłbym coś lub nie robiłbym czegoś. If I were you, I wouldn't go there. If I were you, I would call a doctor. Another expression, more formal, is to say that something is recommended, czyli coś jest zalecane, rekomendowane, or something is advisable. Coś jest wskazane, zalecane. Yes? So for example, nowadays, washing your hands very often is recommended. It's advisable. Okay? Now, if we want to say that somebody shouldn't or must not do something, so if we want to prohibit something, zakazać, how can we do this? Well, we can use the following expressions. You must not or you mustn't, nie wolno ci. So you must not go to a party during the coronavirus pandemic. Or it is forbidden to, jest zakazane, jest zakaz czegoś. It is forbidden to organize mass events, to organize concerts, to sneeze in a public place. Or we can also say that it is not allowed to, which means more or less the same, nie wolno czegoś robić. It is not allowed to take part in mass events, large gatherings. Or you can also say that somebody is not allowed to do something. So you are not allowed to go out if you have the coronavirus infection. You are not allowed to shake hands with other people at work, which is a rule in many companies nowadays. Okay? So these are the ways in which you can express prohibitions. How else can we express prohibitions? As you can see, the list of prohibitions is much longer than the list of advice because in the current situation with the coronavirus pandemic, naturally there are more prohibitions in place which have been introduced by the governments. That's why it is good to know the ways of expressing them. So, first of all, we can say that something is banned. So, for example, mass events are banned now. Okay? Air travel is banned in many places. Yes? We can also say that something is prohibited, which means exactly the same thing as when we say that something is banned. Yes? Something is prohibited, coś jest zakazane. Something is not allowed, the same meaning, coś nie jest dozwolone. And the most serious thing, we can say that something is against the law. For example, as you probably know, if you have the coronavirus, you have had a test and it has been confirmed, potwierdzone, that you have the virus, and you have been told to stay at home, to have quarantine, it is absolutely against the law to leave your home. It is very serious ban or prohibition. It is against the law. If you break this ban, this prohibition, you can pay a fine. A fine means financial punishment, grzywna. According to the latest regulations, you can pay a fine of up to 30,000 zloty, which is very, very serious. It's a lot of money because if you're sick and you walk around, meet people, you can infect a lot of people. Now, there is some advice that the doctors and healthcare services and the government have given to the population, to the public. So what are the things that we should do or maybe shouldn't do? What are the things that we'd better do, czyli które lepiej powinniśmy robić. So, stay at home. Should we or shouldn't we stay at home? Well, of course, if it's possible, if you do not have to go to work, if you do not have to go to the shop to get some groceries, if you do not have to go to a doctor, you'd better stay at home. This is the advice that's been given to most people. Stay at home, self-isolate from the rest of the population as much as possibly. This can help to prevent the spread of the disease. Avoid contact with other people. So should we avoid contact with other people or shouldn't we avoid contact with other people? Well, of course, just like with staying at home, we'd better avoid contact with other people unless we have to, unless it's necessary. But in other cases, try to avoid contact with other people, especially physical contact. Of course, you can have contact online, you can have contact on the phone, but avoid physical contact, touching people, getting closer to them. In fact, it is recommended that we keep a distance of at least 1 meter from other people. Wash our hands thoroughly. Thoroughly, it means that you wash them very carefully and for a long time. Thoroughly means dokładnie. So, should we wash our hands thoroughly or not? Well, we absolutely should. We'd better wash our hands as often as possible, especially if we have been out, if we have touched things, you know, outside our home and we do not know, maybe they have been contaminated. So we'd better wash our hands thoroughly. Now, what should we use to wash our hands? Should we wash our hands with antibacterial soap? Definitely so. You'd better use antibacterial soap. It's more effective than a normal soap. It is antibacterial, which means it kills the bacteria. You can also wash your hands with special antibacterial liquids, which in English are called sanitizers. So they are especially made to kill bacteria, viruses. So they are the most effective ones. Okay, so we have actually discussed that wash our hands with a sanitizer, so antibacterial liquid which contains alcohol and other substances. They kill the viruses, they kill the bacteria. So use them whenever possible to disinfect your hands. Leave home when it is really necessary. For example, to go to work, to buy food or medicines, to see a doctor. So, should we leave home only in these cases? Yes, definitely so. The advice is that we should leave home only when it is absolutely necessary. In other cases, if you don't have to, stay at home. Don't spread the disease. Even if you have this, you will only infect your family, so the spread will be fairly limited, which is a good thing. Stockpile food and other products. Well, what does it mean? Stockpiling food or stockpiling products. I'm sure you have seen pictures in the media of shops with empty shelves, especially such products as toilet paper, or it's also called the toilet roll or loo roll, pasta, hand wash liquid, sanitizers. They have disappeared. They were empty shelves. Why? Because in many places people suddenly got into something that we call panic buying. So in a very short time, a lot of people went to the shops to buy a lot of things, more than they usually buy, to buy, you know, many items. Why? Well, because they want to stockpile. Stockpiling means that you collect a lot of things in one place and you have a big stock, zapas of these things. So stockpiling means gromadzenie zapasów. In Poland, it hasn't been so serious. There was probably one day, maybe 2 days, when people got a little bit scared or panicked, and they made a run at the shops and, you know, bought all the toilet paper and pasta and washing hand soap or washing soap and other products, but right now the situation has got back to normal. At least in Poland, the shops are fully stocked, zatowarowane, so it's not a problem, but we shouldn't stockpile food and other products. Well, why? Because these products are in continuous production. There are continuous non-stop deliveries. These factories which produce the basic products, they are going on, they're working, so why shouldn't we stockpile? Of course, it's not forbidden yet in Poland, it's not prohibited, but we shouldn't do that. Why? Well, for obvious reasons. If you buy all the, I don't know, toilet paper, loo roll, as they call it, there won't be enough for other people. Yes, we have to share with other people. We have to help each other. All right. Now, what about the prohibitions concerning the current coronavirus pandemic? So, the first one, take part in public gatherings and mass events. Is it forbidden? Is it allowed? Of course, we all know that right now it is forbidden to take part in public gatherings and mass events. It is forbidden to organize them, to hold them. So you absolutely must not attend them, take part in such public meetings. Even if they are for work, they should be limited to a minimum or just forbidden. Leave home when you are in quarantine. Home or other places, because people are in quarantine at home, but they can also be in quarantine at a hospital or other places. So what about this? Well, I have told you before, you probably know this, it is absolutely forbidden. It is against the law to leave the place of your quarantine. There is a very heavy fine on this. I told you this already, 30,000 up to 30,000 zloty. You may have to pay if you break the law, if you leave your home. So you mustn't do this. It's banned, it's forbidden, it's against the law. Now, cross the Polish border without being quarantined. When you have been in a foreign country and you are coming back to Poland right now, and the country you're coming back from is a country with the coronavirus pandemic, I believe, according to what I read, you have to be quarantined now, unless you cross the border for professional reasons. I mean, you are, for example, a truck driver and you cross the border often because you transport goods. Then you probably don't have to do this, but for other people, I think it is forbidden to cross the border and not to be in quarantine. The next thing, well, I'm pretty sure you all know the answer to this. Have lessons at school. Right now, it is not allowed to have lessons at school, at least in the physical form, in the school building. It is forbidden to have lessons at school. Schools, teachers, we are now, right now, working, also institutions, we are now working on developing the system of long-distance learning, online learning, that can get us back into the school routine. Open shops and shopping malls, you know, like in Torun, Copernicus or Plaza. So is it forbidden to open shops in shopping malls or not? So are the shopping malls actually open or are they not opened? Is it allowed or is it forbidden? Well, the answer is yes and no. The shopping malls are open, but only some types of shops are open in them, meaning grocery stores. Grocery stores are shops which sell food. Pharmacies, okay, drugstores, pharmacies, chemists. People need to buy medicines, so of course they have to be open. You may be surprised, but it's actually not so surprising. Pet shops are also open. Why? Well, because they sell food and some other things which are necessary for keeping pets and keeping them healthy and in good condition. So they are like food shops for pets. So except for these stores, the shops, it is forbidden to open shops and operate them in the shopping malls. So you cannot buy clothes, you cannot buy shoes, you cannot buy other items which are not absolutely necessary for our life. Yes, you can do this online. All right, so now let's check what we have learned today, the ways of expressing prohibition and advice and recommendation. And also let's check your knowledge of all the advice, prohibitions and recommendations that have been introduced because of the coronavirus infection. So you will have to complete the sentences which will appear on the board using the following words: allowed, recommended, banned, prohibited, against the law. So, organizing concerts. Is it allowed? Is it recommended? Is it banned, prohibited, or is it against the law? Of course, I'm pretty sure you know that this is not allowed. This is by no means recommended. It's absolutely banned, prohibited, against the law. Concerts are mass events gathering a lot of people in a small space, so the disease can spread very, very quickly. That's why they are prohibited. Going out to buy food. Is it banned, prohibited, or is it allowed or recommended? Well, of course, the answer is pretty obvious again. We have to eat. So going shopping for food cannot be prohibited. It is allowed. It is allowed. You can go and buy food. However, it is recommended that you go shopping for food as rarely as possible, so that you do not have contact with other people very often. And it is also recommended that you keep distance from other shoppers. Some shops have introduced limits on the number of people that can enter the shop at the same time. So it is recommended also that you use gloves when you touch, you know, these plastic gloves or rubber gloves or whatever gloves you can have that are sterile, because in the shop people tend to touch the food and the other items that are there. So you should also, you know, try not to do this or do this as little as possible. Use the gloves. So that's the recommendation for shopping. Selling clothes in a shopping mall. So if you have a clothes shop in a shopping mall, can you open it and can you do the business? Can you sell these clothes to people, to customers? Of course, absolutely not. It is banned, it is prohibited. These shops have to be closed in the shopping malls. As we have said before, only the food stores, the pharmacies, pet shops are, and also shops which sell cosmetics, which we need to keep our hygiene. They also can be open. Apart from that, all the other shops are banned from doing business. Going for a walk during a quarantine. Of course, we have talked about this. When you are in quarantine, that means you have the virus. That means you can spread the virus. So it is absolutely prohibited, against the law, to go out anywhere during the quarantine. You have to stay where you are. When is your place of quarantine? As we said, I will repeat this one more time. It is absolutely against the law. If you break the law in this way, you can pay a heavy fine. You will be punished financially by the government, by the authorities. It's a serious matter. Can we go out if we are not in quarantine? So, you know, nowadays a lot of people are stuck at home. You know, they stay at home, they don't go to work, they work online. So can you just go out for a walk, I don't know, into the forest or somewhere else? Well, it's not banned yet in Poland. It's not prohibited. In some countries it is. There are some countries in which going out, even if you are not infected, is prohibited totally. In Poland it is not banned, it is not prohibited to go out. However, it is recommended that you avoid contact to other people. So if you go to a forest or some other outdoor place, make sure you're alone there, or there are not many people, or there are big distances between people. Yes? So it is allowed, but there are some recommendations. This may change, as I said, in some countries. Going out, even if you are not, you know, infected, it is banned already. Can you run a pub or restaurant? Well, as you can imagine, restaurants, pubs are places where people gather in smaller or bigger groups, but they get together, they're pretty close to each other. So it is banned, it is prohibited. Such places have to be closed now. Restaurants or pubs, they can deliver food as a takeaway food. You can order it as a takeaway food, but these places have to be closed for customers. So running a pub, of course, is banned, prohibited. Having online lessons. Well, we are having an online lesson right now, so you may guess it is not prohibited, banned and against the law, because why should it be? It's pretty safe alternative for human contact, for work, for education, so this is what we are using right now. So not only is it allowed, it is also recommended as an alternative way of work, human contact and education. Washing and disinfecting your hands. Of course, washing and disinfecting our hands with sanitizer helps to prevent the spread of the disease. So it cannot be banned or prohibited or against the law. Of course, it is allowed, it is recommended that we do it as often as possible, especially if we touch a lot of things. All right, so I hope that this lesson has been useful for you, that you have learned the ways of expressing advice, expressing recommendations, expressing prohibitions. I think this is especially important right now when the situation with the coronavirus pandemic has forced the governments, the authorities to introduce a lot of recommendations, a lot of prohibitions, a lot of new rules, a lot of new regulations. So The situation is dynamic, the situation is changing, new rules, new laws, new prohibitions are being introduced. So please follow the media, make sure you know what prohibitions, what new rules, regulations, recommendations have been introduced, are in place. This is all for our good. This is all to prevent the fast spread of the disease, to keep us healthy as long as possible, to help the healthcare system. I would also like to say, I would like to recommend reading foreign websites, news websites. You can read about other countries, what prohibitions, recommendations, advice, new rules and regulations have been introduced there. You can compare it with Poland, and I'm pretty sure you will see a lot of these words there. So I hope that this lesson has been useful for you, that you have learned some things, and that this will help you to cope in a difficult situation like the one we are having right now. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. You can ask them on our chat or not. Thank you very much, and I hope that you have enjoyed the lesson. So see you next week. Thank you very much.
Bardzo dziękujemy. To była lekcja angielskiego dla klasy drugiej Liceum Ogólnokształcącego. Oczywiście jeszcze zostańcie z nami, bo już o 11:15 rozpocznie się dla Was lekcja matematyki, którą poprowadzi pan Tomasz Masłowski. Dziękujemy serdecznie. Pan profesor Maciej Doksa. Wszystkiego dobrego i zostańcie z nami.
Dziękuję bardzo.